Cycle Solutions is your one-stop shop for upgrades and service. Cycle Solutions, Fort Myers, and CycleSolutions.com. Taking your bike from the street to the strip.
Hi, this is Chris Waddell from Cycle Solutions. Standing here with Stuart, my French Bulldog. He's also my head mechanic. Kidding. He hangs out on the lift with me a lot at shows. A lot of people have seen him. So Stu's here with me today. Right now we're on a 2017 Road King Special. And he is doing the Thundermax iRide air ride system on this bike. I kind of want to talk about this. I have this system on my Road King. It's fantastic. So basically what you have is you have a performance-oriented suspension with air ride capabilities. The air ride basically does one thing and one thing only, and that is chooses the height of the bike. So on the left side of the bike we have a JRI coilover shock specifically tuned for this. And then you have the iRide canister, which mounts on this side. You have the potentiometer in the ECM, which mounts behind it and attaches to the swing arm, so it knows exactly how high the bike's sitting, like so. So when it raises, if it needs more air, it'll add air, and if it's sitting too high, it'll bring itself down to a prescribed height. All that's controlled through the touchpad on the handlebar. We'll get to that in a second. This is the compressor mechanism from iRide. It has a dump valve in it. Basically what that does is it mounts here to the back of the shock. You'll have an air line that then leaves the compressor and goes right to the air canister. And again, the height is controlled by the ECM, which is mounted here and is attached like so. So in other words, if you are riding it by yourself and you have it set to go 2.5 inches going down the highway, at say 60 miles an hour, when you come to a stop, this thing is programmed to drop to the ground, or whatever height you want it to, when you come to a stop. And as soon as you put it in gear and start to roll, it'll pick itself up, and then up, and then up, and then right back down. It's a pretty slick system. What really sets this apart is on the other side, which is the JRI shock. So instead of having nothing but a couple of airbags, you have a world-class coilover shock with the combined rebound compression circuit at the bottom, which you can choose however stiff you want the bike to respond. So once the bike's up and you're riding it, it's just like any other motorcycle with a performance suspension. The air ride comes into play when it comes to a stop. Here is the control pad. Right now this bike's not wired, so to speak, but this is hot. It's all ran through the CAN bus system, so it streams information throughout the bike. So although it has a whole bunch of functions when used with a Thundermax tuner, Thundermax ECM, it can be ran without a Thundermax. It's in complete control of itself. So this screen right now just shows certain engine functions. You can touch it. And then we can bring up the iRide system. So inside of this, we'll tell it exactly how high. Like there's no reading right now, so it has no idea what it's doing. But we can do whatever we want with it in terms of the height, programming when it comes to a stop, where it goes, what it raises up to. So you can choose a sport mode, if you will. We also use this function for loading a bike in a trailer where you don't want it to be lowered to the ground and drag. So you can choose this where it's a fixed height mode, and you can choose it to be, say, at 3 inches. So if you're riding in the mountains and you do not want the bike to lower itself as you come into a slow curve, if you want it to stay full height, you can use that function. It's pretty slick how it works, and I will assure you it does handle well, very well. Certainly better than any air ride system that we've ever used or tested. So as this installation goes along, we'll do a bit more video on the final installation, and then we'll have the Thundermax itself. We'll go ahead and do a firmware upgrade to it, so it streams all sorts of vital engine functions like cylinder head temperature, RPM. We just finished up the iRide installation and the firmware upgrade to the Thundermax Auto Tune system on this 2017 Road King Custom. So what we have now is we have the compressor unit with the dump valve, we have the iRide ECM, and then we have the iRide air tank. On the other side of the bike is the adjusted JRI shock. So again, it's a coilover shock on the left side, and it's an air ride on the right. It's all integrated very cleanly through its own wiring harness through the Thundermax itself, and then it makes its way to the control unit at the top on the handlebar. That's available in chrome or black. So what I'm going to do is demonstrate how this works. So I'll put a little weight on the bike. The ignition's already on, and we're setting it 2 7/8 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and tell this bike to go active. Push a button on the screen, and instantly it's going to lower itself to what is preset by me at 5/8 of an inch. So this is the stopped height. So myself, being a tall guy, my legs would literally be like this, sitting square. So someone who's height challenged, this works perfectly. They can ride a full height bike going down the interstate. When it comes to a stop, it's on the ground. Say I want to load this bike up into a trailer, I can go here and I can hit fixed mode, and I have it set for about 3 inches. Pressure's going to kick on. It's going to rapidly pick this bike up to height. It's already there. I can put this bike up in a trailer so it doesn't drag, or up onto a lift like we had to do here. Or if I was riding in the mountains and I wanted not to ever drop from that prescribed height, I could leave it in the fixed mode. So I can show you some of the functions on this bike if you want to pan the camera over this way. This is the iRide screen, and it does dim at night. So this is the green screen, is what's called fixed mode. Going to the active mode, hit this button right here. I have it set around 3/4 of an inch sitting still. So as this bike takes off, the little bouncing ball here goes forward. As the speed increases, it'll jump up and it'll jump up. So this is stopped or low speed. This is around town, and this is highway in terms of settings. Shows you the system PSI and how much air is being used. If we were to go into some of the settings, this is system settings. The system settings talk about the display, whether you want it English or French or whatever, and then some other information in the system info like firmware and whatnot. We won't mess with that in this case. We'll step back out and we'll go into the iRide settings. Rear setup. Just to note, this thing is capable of running the front end. There's a bunch of stuff in development, but I think dirty air is one of the systems that can be integrated into this. And then there's a function here about coilover setup, and you can go into that and it'll show you ride height, rear pressure, you can raise and lower. There's a bunch of stuff you can do in there. So we're going to function or focus on the rear setup this way. So at fixed height, I have it set for 3 inches. Highway is 2 5/8. If I want to change, say highway, hit that button, 2 3/4. I can keep going down or up, whatever it is I want. I can set it there. City, 1 7/8. Again, I can make it taller, lower, whatever I want. Stopped, I could really take it down 1/2 inch. That's about as low as you can go. And really that's weight dependent on the person too when you're sitting on the bike, because you still have a spring on the coilover. You can adjust the city to highway speed, make it faster, slower. I think 25 is as low as you can go. We'll set it at 30. You want to get out of the screen? There you go. Now, go here and go back to our gauges. This is iRide. If I hit this, it brings up another screen. This shows information that's being developed through the Thundermax. That's the battery voltage. This is the temperature of the cylinder head right now, RPM and numerics, and it's got the graph and then speedometer. I can hit this here. I can bring up live air fuel ratio as long as you're using a Thundermax. Hit it again. We have target air fuel, head temperature, timing, manifold pressure, the position of the throttle. We can watch all that stuff live. This shows current miles per gallon. If I hit that again, it'll bring down another screen. Shows throttle position, average fuel economy, the map pressure. This shows horsepower and torque being developed at any given RPM or throttle position. It's fairly accurate, really. Current miles per gallon, and again, air fuel. We can get rid of all that stuff and go back to the iRide, which is what we're focusing on here. So it's pretty cool. It's very intuitive. And if you don't want to watch it, again, you can go into the settings and you can actually turn it off. Because really, once the system's set, it can be set and you never have to mess with it at all. So this screen, technically, I believe, does not even have to be on the bike. The guy doesn't want it on there once it's done. Future upgrades with this, it is Bluetooth capable, although they've not released or released a firmware that works with that, to my knowledge, yet. But I assume that at some point in time there'll be telephones that call these things, and you can set your setup for whatever you want it to be. Nice thing about this, say you have an active mode. I'm on the bike, you go and you pick somebody up, they get on the back of the bike and it squats the bike instantaneously. It'll pick it up to whatever the prescribed height was at that point. So if they get off the bike, needless to say, it would pick itself up because of the air pressure. Instantly, it'll lower itself back down. Personally, I had this on my 2018 CVO. It's a ton of fun to ride. Had zero issues with it. The installation is a couple hours long. Firmware is one of the biggest things. You got to make certain, if you already have a Thundermax that's existing, that you have the appropriate firmware. Thundermax can send that to you if necessary, so can we. Anyhow, if you want to continue to receive some of the videos that we do, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel, or check us out on Facebook or cyclesolutions.com. Thank you.